Kimberly Guilfoyle, formerly of Fox, formerly, dating Gavin Newsom, has changed a bit over the past few years. She wants you to believe that if Joe Biden gets elected, this will not simply be a Democratic president once again. It won't just be a sort of red commie thing. It is going to be totalitarianism. Take a look.
They want to destroy this country and everything that we have fought for and hold dear. They want to steal your liberty, your freedom. They want to control what you see and think and believe so that they can control how you live. They want to enslave you to the weak, dependent, liberal, victim ideology to the point that you will not recognize this country or yourself.
Okay, so there's a few things there. So one is obviously, and it's gonna get worse from here on out, she's screaming at the top of her lungs. And look, there's nothing I hate more than people trying to, get you to not pay attention to the political views of a woman because of her tone or whatever. But I think that we can all agree that she was actually screaming at the top of her lungs. And I get that it's hard to give a speech in a room with no people in it, but that was a way to do it, I guess. And there she says that the Dems want to control everything that you see and hear. Okay, so I guess this is cancel culture as the genesis for all of your political views. I don't know. And that they want to enslave you to the weak, enslave you to, I don't know. I don't think that Joe Biden wants to enslave us. I'm not a fan of his. He wasn't my pick, but I don't think that he's Kim Jong-un. I don't think that that's the political approach that he's gonna have.
No, and so much of this is built around like scare tactics. Like they want, and this is like, there's so much overlap in the rhetoric here that you would see on Fox. So much of it is built on this like sensationalized fear mongering about, as we saw, different themes of like, militant Black Lives Matter groups and Marxism and all of these scary things that the right wing apparatus has been fear mongering for decades. So now we're seeing this play out at the RNC, and this happens every time, but this one felt like much different. Maybe it was the empty room, just screaming in the empty room with the echo ricocheting off the pillars and reverberating back into the mic. I don't know what it was about the aesthetic or something, but like this felt different than any other RNC, especially in terms of the fear mongering and the scaremongering. None of these things are going to happen. Like nothing. Joe Biden himself has literally said, again, to our frustration, nothing will fundamentally change. Mm-hmm. So they're still going out there. Yeah, I wish he hadn't, but he did. And this is what now you're trying to go out there and say he's going to instill totalitarianism and we're going to be slaves to the weak, whatever that means. And maybe they mean like just like beholden to this type of like SJW mindset that they think keeps people suppressed. But it's nothing really will change, sadly.
No, he's already prepping to do like oh no, we've got deficits, we can't pass anything big. Like what are you talking about, totalitarianism? It's just such she and people are correcting me. She was married to Gavin Newsom, totally true. And she knows that she's lying. She 100% knows that she's lying. This is what she said to do well on Fox, and I'm sure that being involved with Don Trump Jr. is another. Like, does she want to run for Senate someday? Like, all of this feels so obviously mechanical. You can watch interviews with her from like 12 years ago where she was so reasonable. Like, and now California's like a Mad Max Thunderdome at state level. It's nonsense and obviously internally not consistent. So which is it? Is it that the Democrats now control everything that you get to see and everything you get to hear, and the mob's coming for you and they're about to take you, or that they have a victim complex? Not you, not the person who can't see or think or hear anything that you want anymore. It's the others that have the victim complex. When all of this, as you point out, is just scaremongering. It's telling their audience, you're probably pretty scared, and that's good, but you should be more scared because they are coming for you. Black mobs armed with rifles are coming for your kids, and they've got their wops, and they're gonna try to make your daughters into sluts. That's their whole thing. And at the same time, the libs have a victim complex. Jesus. Anyway, it's not just Guilfoyle though. On this idea that Joe Biden is a totalitarian communist. It wasn't just insinuation. It was pretty explicit in the remarks of Maximo Alvarez, the founder of a gasoline distribution company.
Speaking to you today because I have seen people like this before. I've seen movements like this before. I've seen ideas like this before. And I am here to tell you, we cannot let them take over our country. I heard the promises of Fidel Castro, and I can never forget all those who grew up around me, who looked like me, who suffered and starved and died because they believed those empty promises.
Okay, so yeah, look, the guy's obviously like tearing up. I'm a big softy leftist, so I feel empathy for people. Terrible what he had to go through, or the version that he remembers that he had to go through. It's Joe Biden, man. It's Joe Biden. When it was Joe Biden and eventually picked Kamala Harris, there were articles about how Wall Street was cheering for this. From people on Wall Street, they wanted you to know how happy they were that they dodged a couple bullets and they got Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And now it's explicitly Fidel Castro reincarnated in Joe Biden's body. That's what they want us to believe.
Yeah, and I can't help but think back to the primary. When Bernie's comments on literacy programs in Cuba was used as a cudgel by people like Joe Biden to scare Florida Democrats, to scare Southern Democrats and the Democratic establishment and the media, to say, oh my God, his sympathies with Cuban literacy programs would turn Democratic voters away in the general. We can't have this, they'll call him a socialist. Never mind that Joe Biden and Jill Biden's like one of their great accomplishments during his tenure in the Obama administration was extending an olive branch to Cuba for educational programs. Forget that. Forget that it was an actual plank of the Democratic platform for years. And it just shows how disingenuous this was. Like, I really want to remind people, like the tactics they used, and they tricked people into thinking, oh my God, Bernie's sympathies for Cuban literacy programs are gonna blow up in his face in the general election if he becomes the nominee. And now what happens? Oh, lo and behold, now Joe Biden is the scary Marxist socialist who's going to turn into the next Fidel Castro. Give me a break. People gotta stop taking this seriously.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of our audience is probably got to be feeling like they know what I'm gonna say. Yeah. We said at the time when they were saying you can't have Bernie, they're gonna call him a socialist, and we were saying no, they're gonna do that anyway. This is not looking back, and like, oh God, it turns out that was a bad call. No, we were saying at the time, if it's Buttigieg, then it's Buddha Mao. Like it's gonna be. It doesn't matter who you pick. You can pick Joe Manchin, okay? It's gonna be Kim Jong-un. It doesn't matter who you pick. They only have one gear, and it's red baiting. That's all they have. And we knew it at the time. And they knew it at the time. Nobody on MSNBC or CNN thought, well, if we pick Joe Biden, then Trump will be very reasonable and he will just contrast his record with what Joe wants to do. Nobody actually thought that. They weren't just stupid, they were stupid and dishonest. And unfortunately, we went in that direction, okay? Not because the Dems in control were actually worried about that, but because they didn't want Bernie. They didn't care how the Republicans would message against them. They didn't want to have him. That's all it was. And they got what they wanted. And now we got what they said they would get. For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.